Aloha and good evening, Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, September 28th, 2001. I now call the Reapportionment Commission meeting to order. Mr. Cordilla, please proceed with roll call.
Commissioner Caparós,
Present.
Commissioner Douglas,
Present.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
Present.
Commissioner Lau,
Present.
Commissioner Mao,
Here.
Commissioner Quevedo Jr.,
Present.
Commissioner Shigemasa,
Present.
Commissioner Singh,
Present.
Chair Iona,
Present.
9 members present, Chair.
Thank you. Before we start our meeting, again, I have some procedural announcements to make. Pursuant to Governor David Ige's emergency proclamation related to COVID-19 response issued on August 5th, 2021, relating to the COVID-19 pandemic, in order to allow public participation in a manner consistent with safe practices and social distancing requirements, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Remote oral testimony will be accepted on all items on the agenda, including the executive session items. Each speaker will be limited to a 3-minute presentation on all items. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. As an attendee of the meeting, you are initially set with view-only privileges. Our staff will bring you into the meeting at a time you are called to testify. Video conference from a quiet location, if that's possible. If you are also watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. When the timer goes off, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those that may be joining us by telephone only, I do not have your name, so I will identify you by prefix or your phone number. Right now, I don't believe we have anybody by phone, and so that does not apply. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will close remote testimony. Written testimony, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available as a public document on the city's website. As a courtesy, please turn off your cell phones for the duration of the meeting. Mahalo. That said, we will now proceed to agenda 3, which is remote oral testimony. Testifiers, please be ready on standby to testify. And again, knowing that technical issues can arise, I'll give you a few moments to try to resolve whatever connection issues we might have or other technological issues we might have. However, if those issues cannot be resolved, I will have to move on to the next person. When I call your name or phone prefix, please state your name for the record and the agenda item or items you are testifying on. Okay, so we will begin.
Chair Iona.
Identify, please.
Commissioner Shigemasa, just point of order.
Yes.
Could I get my name corrected on Olelo? It's been incorrect for the life of the commission.
Oh, really?
It's been saying Shigemasu.
Oh,
I just, if that's okay.
no, I don't know how to do it. I wish I could right now.
Thank you.
I see your point. I wish you brought that up earlier.
I just see it now.
Okay. It is Shigemasa and not Shigemasu. So, Olelo, if you could correct that, we'd appreciate it. Okay, we're communicating right now. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to begin with our first video testifier, which my understanding is Adriel Lam. Okay, first is Ingrid Peterson. So if you would please identify yourself.
I don't see myself. It's just audio.
Okay.
Or I'm asking. Oh, no, I see. Sorry. There we go. I think. Oh, hi.
Hi. We can see
Do
you.
we have a certain number of minutes or?
3 minutes.
Oh, okay, I haven't practiced this, but okay. Aloha. My name
Aloha.
is Ingrid. I'm reading. My name is Ingrid Peterson. I'm a Kailua resident. My family's had my family home here where I live since 1963 when I was 8 years old. I've grown up and spent most of my 66 years right here in Kailua. My husband's family has lived here in Kailua for 100 years. Also, I once taught in Waimanalo, and I had close family members in the Hui Manu part of Kaneohe on the in the Hui Iwa neighborhood, which I'm commenting on too if I have time. I strongly oppose the Kaena Point plan, and I support the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan with minor reservations. The Kailua community should be in one district, not broken in half. Waimanalo should, where is this? Waimanalo definitely should not be lumped with Hawaii Kai, as in the Kaena Point plan. The two communities are extremely different. Instead, Waimanalo should be united with Kailua. Waimanalo, of course, has a large Hawaiian population, and Kailua has a lot of Hawaiians too. We must not dilute the Hawaiian community's voices. Also, both communities feed into Kailua High School, where students make lifelong friends. My one reservation about the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan is that in the Hui Manu part of Kaneohe, it splits the Hui Iwa neighborhood. I would think this could be easily fixed. Mahalo for listening to my voice. I'm Pau.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Appreciate it. Thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Our second testifier is David Mullenix. Mr. Mullenix, if you could please get online and identify yourself.
Can you hear me? Oh, there I am.
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And we can see you. We can see you right now. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I live out here in Kahalu and totally support the modified plan. I think that one of the plans was to split our community in half, which I think would be disastrous because we have a good, strong community here, and we all, can I say, we share this community and the needs of this community. So split in half makes a lot of sense. Just by highways, the modified plan is one I support. Also, I'm very concerned about splitting Waimanalo in half because that splits the Hawaiian community in half that lives in that area, and that splits their effectiveness politically, their ability to speak to their community. So that's essentially what I had to say, and I want to thank you all for your hard efforts in this regard.
Mr. Mullenix, thank you very much for your input. It's treasured, and I should let you know, as well as our previous person who testified, Ms. Peterson, that the commissioners will take all of the testimony into consideration when voting tonight. So we thank you for your input. Thank you. Our next person listed to testify is Adriel Lamb.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes, we can.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to testify, and thank you for all the committee members, commission members who are serving. I really appreciate your work on this. It's just a comment about the different plans. I don't have a intent to testify on either one, but I apologize, I haven't been in previous meetings or been able to listen to previous meetings, but I just want to ask about how these plans were made up. I understand it was based off on previous redrawings or efforts to redraw districts 10 years ago and to adjust by population. But I asked if there's consideration about the ahupua'a, the watersheds, and how the natural boundaries affect how city planning goes. Gravity still applies, things go downhill. So when you put in utilities and other types of community or public works projects, how is that affected by the natural terrain? And do you take that in consideration when you cross these boundaries and make political divisions just based solely on people as opposed to all the parts of our land here? The watershed, utilities, the physical features as well as the population. So I guess my question would be, is there population numbers that breaks it down by ahupas in the watersheds? Thank you. Or I guess the traditional mokus. Thank you.
Thank you for your input, Mr. Lam. And yes, they are considered as boundaries. Our last meeting, we had well, actually, the previous meetings, we've had much detail given about how these boundaries are set, how the lines are drawn for the maps. And I would recommend that you view those minutes if possible. And also, if you have any further questions on that, you can always contact the staff of the commission and ask them questions about that, but they are a part of it. And they are considered in regards to the map drawing. And we have several commissioners tonight who have made some amendments to these the maps that were adopted. And you'll hear from them in regards to why they are making the amendments they are making and why they believe that it's best that it be made and adopted. So thank you for that. Our next testifier is Sherry Polak.
Aloha, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I see there's starting the video. Okay. Just want to thank the commissioners for this opportunity to testify tonight. And it's going to maybe sound a little bit like a broken record, but I do want to echo what the previous testifiers had stated, that it's really important to keep communities together. I myself live in one of those communities that I notice is being divided, and really that doesn't make good sense. It's bad policy. I support the modified existing plan. That one seems to not be dividing neighborhoods, but the Kaena Point one for sure, the Kaena Makapu'u Lighthouse, those plans are all dividing communities, as was mentioned, the Waimanalo community, and in the other two, my own community. I live very close to Hui'iwa, and I want to keep together with my neighbors. We have similar concerns. It just makes good sense to keep our neighborhood, our community together. So thank you for this opportunity to testify. We just really appreciate your efforts, and thanks so much for your hard work.
Thank you. We appreciate your input and your involvement. Mahalo. Like I said, everything will be taken into consideration. Our next testifier is Bart Dame. No. Okay, I'm sorry. We're gonna go to Melody Aduha.
Aloha.
Hello.
Aloha, Chair. Aloha, Commissioners. Mahalo for giving me this opportunity to testify. As mentioned, my name is Melody Aduha. I am a long-time 40-year resident of Windward, Oahu, currently living in Kahalu'u. I'm also a former candidate for the Honolulu City Council for Windward, Oahu several elections ago. I cannot support the Kaena Makapu'u plan or the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan, as it divides the Ahui Manu community, where part of Hui'iwa Street is on the Windward District, while most of Ahui Manu will be on the North Shore District. I believe it is wrong and nonsensical to create a wraparound council district that straddles Hawaii Kai and Waimanalo and winds up splitting Kaneohe. I believe that the easternmost Windward Council District should begin at the traditional Makapu'u boundary and continue westward through Kailua and Kaneohe and as far toward Kahalu'u as population distribution permits. Then the district should proceed northwesterly toward the country towns towards Kahuku. This keeps Windward Oahu intact. My support is on Plan 4, the modified existing districts. In this plan, Council Districts 2, 3, and 7 remain unchanged, as it should, so that these defined communities will remain intact. Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aduha. We appreciate your input and your continued involvement in civic affairs. Our last testifier, well, a video testifier is Bart Dame. Mr. Dame?
Um, I think you're being overwhelmed by windward side people. I live in Ainahaina now, but I grew up in Kailua, and I share a lot of the concerns. I think the common perspective, which there is a lot of shared common perspective among windward people on a lot of things. I haven't studied all the plans to have a nuanced answer, and I'm not all familiar with all the back roads and streets of all the districts. But I would like to express my concerns about the Kaena Point plan, which has the wraparound that includes Waimanalo, Lanikai, goes all the way around, not just Hawaii Kai, but to Kahala and to Kapiolani Park. I live smack dab in the middle of East Honolulu and Ainahaina, so I'm not going to be impacted one way or another. But I am concerned that one of the results of this would be to dilute the influence of the Hawaiian and part Hawaiian vote, because there's a large part Hawaiian and Hawaiian population in Kailua and in Kaneohe, and certainly in Waimanalo is very concentrated. But when you go around to Hawaii Kai, there's not just a cultural shock, but the demographics are very different. And I think that's should be of concern. There's something about the trade winds blowing onshore that I think creates conditions that unifies us. It was mentioned how I'm a Kailua High graduate. We had classmates from Waimanalo. The feeder system of the school can be an indicator of how community exists, particularly if those schools have been feeding into each other for decades, as is the case with Waimanalo going into Kailua. So I would urge, look at the nuances of the other plans, but please do not pass the Kaena Point plan. I don't understand, we're at a disadvantage testifying before we hear the full presentations, but I'm not sure what the logic was behind it. I'm sure that it solves certain problems for certain people, but from my perspective, I think it would be bad for the windward side, and I urge you to go against it. For those who are trying to understand the process, I would agree that previous meetings have had very good presentations. In particular, I watched Rex Cadilla's presentation at the last meeting explaining how they balance the different factors. And I thought there was a lot of not just intelligence, but also wisdom in his presentation. And I would urge members not to be too fixated upon the deviation of population. As long as it is a reasonable deviation, then it should probably fall in importance against the other criteria of having easily definable boundaries and maintaining the cohesion of societies. And I think that exists with all the other plans. I think the highest deviation was something like 6%, which I think is within the range of tolerance, if that's what's necessary to use the other factors, satisfy the other factors. So thank you for the time for testifying. I appreciate the complexities and difficulties of dividing this one island into 9 districts with equal population. That's really tough. Those who have not gone online to use the state reapportionment access to the redistricting software should do so. Even though it doesn't directly apply, you can get a hands-on experience of how tough this job is. And I appreciate you guys taking on the burden. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dame. Really appreciate your input. Well said. We have some signups here. The first signup is Fabian Farm. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes, that is. Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, good evening, Chair Iona, Vice Chair Shigemasa, and members of the Reapportionment Commission. My name is Fabian. I'm a resident of Kali area, and I too am testifying in support of the modified existing districts plans. The new projected district plans will affect the residents because of these changes. Our new council member who was sworn in last year, I feel is doing a great job already. I think that if the new district plans go into effect, the new council member that is elected may not be familiar with our district. In closing, I'd like to thank you for your time and mahalo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Farm. We appreciate your input, like I said, and I'm sure the commissioners will take what you said into consideration when we take up our discussion and vote for the plan. Our next testifier is Charisse Villanueva.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, good evening, Chair Iona, Vice Chair Shigemasa, and members of the Reapportionment Commission. My name is Sharice, and I live in the Kalihi Palama District, and I'm testifying in support of the modified existing districts plan. The other proposed plans that propose to add Malka to some districts will bring about huge changes to those districts that will substantially affect the residents there. Personally, we just got a new council member last year, and I can't imagine to get a new council member next year who may not even know anything about our neighborhood. Please continue to use the modified existing maps and adjust or tweak the districts if need be due to population growth. Again, if huge changes happen to the districts, you're doing this to the actual people living there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Villanueva. Again, I'm sure the members will take your testimony into consideration. Thank you for your input. The next testifier is Kimiona Kane.
Aloha yahi kako. Aloha my chair. Good evening, commissioners. Mahalo for taking our opportunity or creating the opportunity for us to speak on this very complex situation. First and foremost, just mahalo for having the difficult discussions that you folks are having in regards to the plans. I am a proud born and raised in Waimanalo, a child of Waimanalo, and I'm here this evening to testify on in support of the modified existing plan and in opposition of the Kaena Point plan, as well as the Kaena Makapu'u plan. Clearly, Waimanalo Ahupua'a boundaries have always included Mauna Lua. However, as we all know, the historical changes that have taken place have altered certainly the relationship of how that aina is reviewed as it is currently. Waimanalo belongs in the Ko'olaupoko region. It should remain in the Ko'olaupoko region. And while I am the chair for the Waimanalo Neighborhood Board, I do speak solely as an individual this evening. So I am slightly disappointed that we have not had, at least for myself, and I apologize of my ignorance, an ample opportunity to engage in these conversations prior to tonight's meetings. But I look forward to doing so on behalf of our community to include the community voices collectively. So again, just mahalo nui for the difficult conversations that will be had. Chair, as well as the rest of you commissioners, still in opposition of the Kaena Point plan, as well as the Kaena Makapu'u plan. Mahalo nui a kako.
Mahalo. Mr. Kane, mahalo for your testimony and your input. We appreciate it. Thank you for your service on the neighborhood board and, being civically involved. We appreciate that. The next testifier is Ikaika Hasi.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I'll try to turn on my video, see if that works.
Yes, we see you.
I just want to take a couple of minutes to thank all of the members of the commission, as well as the staff that have put so many hours into creating the various draft proposals. I thought it would be important to speak out this evening with the understanding that what I'm about to say probably won't be very relevant, frankly, for the immediate decisions that face all of you, and which is that I just want to underscore that the decisions that are being made by the Reapportionment Commission, they're gonna they will have a 10-year lifespan, and this happens to be the decade where the political decisions that are made in this decade will have reverberations for decades and centuries to come in terms of climate. And I think where this intersects with your role as reapportionment commissioners is that oftentimes, the individuals who serve in the seats, we tend to think of, and I say this as someone who is running for city council, we tend to think of our roles as being, almost like little mayors of our various districts throughout the island. But the job of the city council is really to think about the island as a whole. And so the reason why I felt compelled to speak tonight is it's to express a sort of heartache that we are not contemplating seriously or even discussing the possibilities of an at-large district or multi-member districts. And the reason I say that is increasingly, I think we're living in a world where Kalihi and Kaneohe's districts, futures and fates are directly tied to each other. Waimanalo and Waianae and Hawaii Kai, we're all kind of in the same boat in terms of how our island as a whole deals with the tumultuous future that we're all walking into. And I think it's important for us to at least try to build into our political structure at the city council a perspective of the entire island and not just our individual council districts. And if I only wish that it were possible to make those sort of changes in this reapportionment map. I recognize that that's not the case, and nonetheless I'm grateful to all of you for your work, and I'm hoping that perhaps in the future we can make changes to our charter that will allow for those structural changes to take place. So thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
No, thank you for the comments, and you hit it on your last stake. It is a charter issue in regards to an at-large seat. So we unfortunately could not take that up for any discussion at all. So we thank you, Mr. House. We thank everybody who's testified tonight. Really tremendous, great input. Like the civic involvement, and I wish we continue this as we move forward. Are there anybody else? No. That being said, we did have a late written testimony. I will note that for the record from Mr. Aki from Common Cause, and it'll be noted, of course, as we mentioned in the beginning, it'll be a part of the record. So with there being no remote testifiers, we'll close the remote oral testimony for all measures. Okay, members, we are now going to move on to agenda number 4, approval of minutes. You have them before you from our last meeting of September 20th, 2021. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? If not, yes.
Commissioner Shigemasa, I'd like to move on adopting the minutes as written.
Okay. There's been a motion. Anybody second?
Sure, I second. Commissioner Douglas, I second.
Okay. All in favor, just go by a voice vote. Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, the motion is approved and the minutes are adopted. We're now on agenda number 5, unfinished business, presentations, discussions, and action, if appropriate, on evaluation of any amendments proposed by commission members. We're going to take this in order, though. So we're going to start first as listed on the agenda. You go back to the agenda. Oh. The first point of discussion as 151A was the Kaena Point proposed map. There are no amendments proposed to the Kaena Point proposed map. Okay, so we will move, unless you have any discussion, we're going to move forward to the next item, which is the proposal for the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed map. We have an amendment to that map. So, and I believe it's Commissioner Hussey Burdick. So at this point in time, would you like to explain your amendments to not only the rest of the commissioners, but also to the public that we know is listening tonight and is very interested in what may be said about this? Go right ahead.
I'd love to. Thank you, Chair.
Don't forget to speak into the mic, okay? As loudly as you can, seriously.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick here. Thank you, Chair. So this is my draft proposal, and I must say that when I came in to meet with the staff, thank you so much for all your work on this. It was kind of difficult to do this without a permitted interaction group because I knew what I wanted for my district, but I had a hard time guessing what you guys want for your district. So with that in mind, I chose the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan as a base because that seemed to have the Ahupua'a style, Mauka Tumakai style districts that you guys seem to be interested in based on your last, the comments made at the last commission meeting. And then all I did was I changed that little boundary up in Uhuimanu between what is now districts 2 and 3, or in other words, the North Shore District and the Windward District, and I just put them back to the original boundaries. And so what that did is it changed the deviation just a little bit. So now the Windward District is the biggest district. Oh, not quite the biggest district, sorry. It changed the Windward District up a little bit. It had been a smaller district and now it's plus 1.5 deviation. And then it also reduced the North Shore District's deviation a little bit to negative 3.6. So that is now the smallest district, which personally I think kind of is okay just because it's such a long spread out district. And then in terms of the slightly larger district for the Windward District, we also have a military base in our district. So when we're making these lines, what it ultimately ends up in is what the campaign is going to be like for the next council member. So while our district might be a little bit bigger, we can't campaign on base. So it kind of evens itself out, I think. And then similarly with the North Shore District, they might have fewer people, but they're more spread out. So I think it's kind of reasonable. And the deviation is still, the total deviation is still 6.49. So it's not exceeding the 10%. And I'll take any questions if anybody has.
Any questions regarding this amendment for Commissioner Hussey Burdick?
Commissioner Douglas, Chair Iona.
Yeah,
Commissioner
I
Douglas.
can't.
Yeah, okay, here we go. That's better. Yeah, Commissioner Douglas, Chair Iona. My question is, it's still within deviation, so why wouldn't, I think Kahaluu would make more sense to be, with the rest of the, this district.
Question to her?
So Commissioner Hussey Burdick, why not just keep Kahaluu, that Makai portion, with Ohuimanu as well? Everything is within deviation. I think that would make the most sense for the community.
Are you saying only the Makai portion and keep Ohuimanu with the Windward District, but leave the Makai portion to Kahaluu?
The Makai portion of Kahaluu, that it looks like the change that you were proposing was like a swap off.
The
So-
change that I'm proposing is back to the original line, the current lines that it is right now.
Okay. Okay, so you're.
So the
you're-
proposed Makapu Lighthouse plan had swapped them out. And then my proposal to amend the proposal is to change it back to what it is currently.
Okay. I'm just thinking, for those who are in the Makai portion, it just looks like a better, like, community. I understand there's that Makai portion, and then there's Ohuimanu just comes in there. But I think I just think it looks better. It looks jagged, that's why. It makes the vision look jagged, and I would think that maybe those who are in that Makai portion would feel, more connected with the community as a whole. They're just kind of cut out from the rest of that community or that district.
So just to make sure you're clear, the map on the right,
Yes.
my proposal is for that jagged Makai part to be in with Kahaluu.
Yes. So what I'm saying is, why not just have that portion as a part of the windward side?
You mean take it even more?
Yes. It's within deviation,
Yeah.
and I think it makes a better boundary. Yeah, that's my suggestion. It just looks like a funny division, how it's like jagged up there, how that pointy part with the Kahaluu stream and Kahikili Highway. So that's my suggestion. If you wanted to.
I wouldn't be opposed to that. Is it possible, I don't know if we have the system set up right now, but is it possible to let us know how much population is in that portion
No.
and how much that would change the deviation?
I mean, that was just my comment. When I looked at your proposal, I just think, oh, he's, I mean, that's all.
Okay. And I don't think we have that capability right now to do that, but thank you for your input. We're gonna vote on these as we go along, okay? Any other questions for Commissioner Hussey Burdick? Okay, there being none, we're gonna move on to the next two proposals for the Kaena Makapu'u proposed map. And we will start by the first proposal to come into the office, which was Vice Chair Shigimasa. Vice Chair, do you want to explain your proposed amendment?
Aloha, Commissioners. This proposal was quite a simple proposal because I actually asked the question in our last meeting. The question was if we use the Ka'ena Makapu'u plan, but use the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan for district, it would be District 4 and 5, without changing the outer boundaries of the district, but only the internal boundaries of the district, so that it would match the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan to ensure that each district gets a Mauka to Makai. And so this plan would do that. If we go to the slide, the second slide, it'll show that between Kamake'e and Alawai Canal, which would be the Ala Moana area, this council district would go to the sea, which would then in fact swap out a few of the addresses in Kapahulu, or excuse me, not few, but it would give Kapahulu to Council District 4 if in case we use the same numbering. I also want to just touch on, I had asked the commission to include, I don't know where this slide is, but it's also on the website, the 1991 Reapportionment Commission Plan. And I just want to bring some context into what we're discussing here. We have the modified existing plan, the 3 other plans that really chop up the districts to that the 2011 commission actually discussed. I don't know if you see that yet, if we can bring that up.
I think they're trying to pull it up.
And the reason I want to show this is because you'll see that in 1991, about 30 years ago, the districts were Mauka to Makai. Although over time, it changed. And I think what we're going to be tasked as a commission is to really just decide, are we going to move lines the way they are using the modified existing plan, or do we want to be the commission that brings it back as a whole? And it's up to us as a commission in looking at the 1991 plan. What you'll see is you really see the Ka'ena plan, the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan, and the Ka'ena Makapu'u plan here. Although at the time there were differences in population, the 3 other plans other than the modified existing plan really bring us back to the 1991 plan, where you had these Ahupua'a type districts where they go from mountain to sea. And they're not jagged and cut in each community, but we use common ridge lines, census box to draw these districts. Now, this plan looks definitely like the Ka'ena plan, but my point is not to advocate for the Ka'ena plan. My point is to advocate for a plan other than the modified existing plan, where we are tested as a commission to see if we're going to make that bold step into correcting plans for the future. And I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Vice Chair Shigimasa? Okay, there being none, we will move on to the, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Lau.
Mr. Lau. Commissioner Shigimasa. So with regard to,
Excuse me, Commissioner, I'm going to ask you if you can speak directly because we are having problems. Yeah.
Commissioner Shigimasa, I had a question with regard to your proposal. So you're really looking to the Ka'ena Makapu'u plan as the draft plan, as the starting point. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
And if I can add, Commissioner Lau, what this plan also does, and I mean, by taking this draft plan, it keeps the Mililani town and Mililani Mauka the way it is sort of like today, it keeps now it can correct Waipahu. And I had felt that this plan was it was the best plan to use as a backdrop plan. But I didn't see the Ka'ena plan go to the ocean for District 4, or excuse me, District 5. And that was my main concern at the last meeting. And you know, what we discovered was, my question at the last meeting was, can we take these two districts, install the Makapu'u Lighthouse plan for just these two districts, and keep the deviation the same? And that was achieved. I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the next proposed amendments. And that was also for the Ka'ena Makapu'u map. And that comes from Commissioner Lau. So Commissioner Lau, at this point in time, would you like to explain your proposed amendments?
Thank you, Chair Iona. I'm sorry, commissioners, but this has the most changes. So here goes.
You're fine. Go right ahead.
Okay. I started off with the Ka'ena Makapu'u plan. And I will say primarily from a starting point that our current District 6 goes from Tantalus all the way to Aiea Heights. And it seemed an untenable district, although I've heard back from elected officials saying it's not as bad as I would think. And it turns out that I believe that more neighborhood boards are attuned to these changes that we're considering tonight. So if you are in touch with your neighborhood boards, please get the input from them. That's just an observation. But I did make the changes proposed here with an intent to meet the goals that are in the charter, and also elucidated by Corporation Counsel's Office and election staff of the deviation, or trying to get the deviation down. Although witness Mr. Dane did make a good point, and that is all of these deviations are within the target 10%. And that was made by Mr. Quidilla, who pointed out to me that the modified existing plan is acceptable as it's under the 10%. It could be. I tried to get it down because I think that when the districts are largely unequal, then the residents in that particular district are either overrepresented or underrepresented. So my goal was to try and get them a little bit down. That was the thought. But Mr. Quidilla, has wisely advised me, and he says, you know, you just can't make minor changes to one district and not understand that it will adversely impact another line or another district. And you have to look at it as a whole. I tried to, maybe I didn't succeed, but the other thing I did though was I tried to keep my ears open at the last meeting. And Commissioner Hussey Burdick was complaining about not having a pig because she wanted to know how the other districts, what their concerns were. And, you know, keeping my ears open as much as I am, I'm kind of deaf. I tried to hear those concerns. So I'm going to just start off with one of the changes of the many and point out that I listened to Commissioner Hussey Burdick, and my change with regard to Ahui Manu and Kahaluu is I did the switch. And basically what Mr. Quidilla pointed out to me was that this just puts both District 2 and 3 back to their original boundaries. So that was one change that I tried to take into consideration and look out for my fellow commissioners. I'm going to take this out of order, Mr. Quidilla. I apologize. One of the other commissioners I heard last week was complaining about, or not complaining, but making an observation about the line going down Eva Beach and Westlock, and pointing out that PE Road was the difference between Old Eva and New Eva. I may have misheard that, but that was my impression. And I'm sort of familiar with that area, but not really. So there are other commissioners here who have a better understanding and appreciation of that. So in order to balance that out, Westlock went back to, I guess that is District 8.
9.
Oh, 9, excuse me. And PPP Road was included back into District 8, right? No, 9? Is that right?
Yeah, 1 is purple, blue is 9.
Okay. Anyway, so I tried to make that adjustment to account for, keeping a community together. The one thing that I would want to move over to, the change made up at Mililani Mauka and Waipio and also Aiea Heights. Those are two changes, inset 3 and inset 4. And those were needed to balance off the districts because District 2 is very widespread, and we needed to add that back in if we're going to move some of the other areas of District 8 away. So that was that change. Waipio Acres goes over to District 2. And further down, District 7 and District 8, the original proposal divides it along Waimalu Stream. I moved it over to further into District 8. 8, yes. And basically, if you look at the larger map, you see that District 8 is one of the biggest changes. And I acknowledge hearing the testifiers from Kalihi concerned that their newly elected council member representing them, would be in a totally different district. My only basis for including District 7 as it is now, it includes Salt Lake, Pearl Harbor, Ford Island, Aiea Heights. Is that correct, Mr. Quidella? And that seems to me to be a community together. I mean, those are areas were developed around the same time, and age of infrastructure might be similar. But then again, I appreciate what the people in Kalihi or those areas, I have to go back and consider that again. The other thing is, go to inset 5. I changed, I tried to include, because some of the testimony I heard from others was a desire to move some of the District 6 boundaries back towards town. And so as opposed to Tatlas, that which was a bridge too far, we moved it and included Papakulea into District 7, I believe. Is that right, Mr. Guidilla? And also taking it down, we basically, I believe, restored the boundary to Ward Avenue. And District 5 now has its connection, Ahupua'a connection to the ocean. Because that blue area is District 5. And those are my changes. And the resulting deviation is in the 3-point percentage rate. Is that right? I don't have that one sheet. I apologize. But I think it's in the neighborhood of 3.5 or something like that.
375.
Oh, 375, sorry. But anyway, those are my reasons. I just would want to acknowledge that many testifiers, and that is a concern for us, I think, as commissioners. You heard a lot of testifiers tonight talk about keeping the modified existing. And that is one of our 4 initially requested maps, because the people who are testifying in favor of that were comfortable in that current configuration. Whether or not that is the proper, that is the best approach for the community, I don't know. And we've heard some testimony tonight about pointing out why maybe a break from that might be a good thing. And we've heard testimony that why it might not. So I leave it to each of you commissioners. But this is my proposed modified Kaena Point Makapu plan. Any questions?
Any questions? Commissioner Quevedo.
Yeah, this is just, I guess, a comment regarding keeping communities together. So sometimes when we try to keep communities together, we kind of separate or take away the voice from, perfect example, New Evo Beach and Old Evo Beach. So there's a portion of Evo Beach itself that originally belonged to Old Evo Beach. So modifying some of these, I guess, boundaries from Old Evo Beach and New Evo Beach takes all of the voice away from, Old Evo Beach. It all belongs to New Evo Beach. So now Old Evo Beach doesn't have a say, doesn't have any say in Honolulu Beach Park. So that's just something I'm want to point out about, us keeping communities together. Sometimes we it seems like, it does make sense, but we take away everything from the original residents that were there from the plantation days.
Anybody else? Oh, you want to respond? Go ahead.
I just have a question. Commissioner Quevedo, so my recollection, and this map is not totally up there, but to the right, the lighter colored, you have, I think, Old Eva Beach, you've got Village, you've got Eva Villages, is that right? And the plantation town further up. So I'm wondering, what change would you recommend, or what change do you think is more appropriate at that location?
For me, I wouldn't change it at all. Because
Okay.
if you look to the right of Fort Weaver, that's all Old Evo Beach.
Yes.
So there are voices in you see that the Papipe Road on the right hand side where it's lined out.
Yes.
There are voices there left from Old Evo Beach to voice to the representative for I guess a property that I'm from there, so a property that we all grew up on. So once you take that Papipe Road and give it and take them out of the picture, that the Old Evo Beach they have no say in someplace they grew up in. And it's a hot topic right now.
Well, I appreciate that, and it was not my intent to take that away. I thought your concern was it should be in the right side as opposed to the left side.
Yeah,
So
no, and I know that wasn't your intent. It's just something that I wanted to point out. When we try to keep communities together, sometimes it might not be the best, because like I said, we're separating. We seem like we're separating Old Evo Beach and New Evo Beach, but we taking away everything from Old Evo Beach. Just like the Waimanalo, you're taking away the voice from Hawaiians on the Waimanalo side. If you do the map certain ways where you split Waimanalo, or that's all I was trying to get to.
Chair Iona. Commissioner Shigemasa.
Go right ahead.
I have a question for Commissioner Quevedo. Are you in favor of the original for inset 1? Are you in? Is that your?
Yeah, I'm in favor with the original, where on the top left, where we keep the at least a portion of the Odabo Beach voices still within that district. Because, the rest of Odabo Beach is, district out of, that portion.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Any further questions, comments? Okay, there being none,
Sorry, Commissioner Shigemasa. I just want to thank the Commissioner Lau, for his work on this map. You did a lot of work here, and I want to be appreciative of you taking District 5 into account and bringing that district to the ocean. Appreciate that change that you put in that map so we can get these Mauka to Makai districts in the plans.
And Chair, I second that. Thank you, Commissioner Long. I wasn't insinuating that you had any other intentions. So just wanted to voice that portion.
Thank you very much. Also, again, if I didn't say it, thank you to the commission staff who's been terrific, and they were very patient and humoring me over those many hours of that little in that little room. Thank you.
anybody else? Okay, there being none, we are now going to take a vote on, well, I would say we'll be making decision-making on each map, and they will be in accordance to the order that they are listed. Okay, so the first map that is listed is the Kaena Point proposed map. So do I hear a motion to send the Kaena Point proposed map to public hearing? Okay, there being none for the Kaena Point proposed map, that map is set aside. Do I hear a motion to send the second map, I should say, is the Kaena Point proposed map amendments by Commissioner Hussey Burdick? Oh, we don't have one. I'm sorry. We don't have any for that. Okay. The second is the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed map. So do I hear a motion to send the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed map to public hearing? You got it.
Yes, I do put in a motion.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
Chairman, I second. Papa Rose, second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any comments on the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed map? Go ahead.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick, can I make a motion to amend the motion to include regular current district boundaries for the North Shore and, sorry, the North Shore and Windward Side districts?
No. It's the proposed map. That's the motion. So we're voting on the proposed map as is.
Not sure. We're able to multiple maps are going to be in a
Could be.
yeah.
It could be. Like I said, it could be.
Sorry, I just want to make sure we understand which one we're talking about. We're not talking about my,
No, I said the
Proposed one,
original
just the
proposed Makapu'u map, which is, I believe it's outside. It's been in your packet.
Mhm.
The public has had a view of this for over a week now.
and just to clarify that that map
Okay.
has the Papipi Road the way that you don't like. Just making sure you know.
That's a comment.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's a comment. Anybody else?
I have a
Comments,
question.
questions, discussion?
Commissioner Mao, we're talking about this Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed plan, September 20th. Okay, I like this plan because the Mauka to Makai has Shigemasu's Mauka to Makai, and it's a little broader than just Ward Avenue. Because when I got the opportunity to drill down here, the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed plan is a larger beachfront, and it includes
a lot of the luxury high rises, and it's a clear demarcation from the rest of the Waikiki. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Uh,
Great.
Chair Iona, this is Commissioner Shigimasa, I just, there's a lot of plans that we're going to be voting on. I just would urge the members that we be very careful of how many plans we take to the public. And I would just urge that.
I'm assuming everybody's aware of that. If you don't, thank you for that comment. Any other comments, questions, discussion on the Makapu'u Lighthouse Plan as proposed? If not, it's been second. So we're going to take a roll call vote on accepting the motion, which will then, if it's accepted or we need a majority of 5, it'll be taken to the public. Go ahead.
Commissioner Caparros,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas,
No.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
No.
Commissioner Lau,
No.
Commissioner Mao,
Yes.
Commissioner Quevedo Jr.,
Yes.
Commissioner Shigemasa,
No.
Commissioner Singh, Chair Iona,
No.
4 ayes.
Okay. Motion does not pass. That map is deleted. We move on now to the Makapu'u Lighthouse proposed, the Makapu'u Lighthouse member draft 1, which was proposed by Commissioner Hussey Burdick. And so the question is there a motion to send the Makapu'u Lighthouse member draft 1 by Commissioner Hussey Burdick to the public to public hearing?
Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick, I would like to move to send this map to the public, but with one additional change, that Papipi Road change that Commissioner Quevedo likes in Eva Beach, please.
We cannot take that motion, that amendment up. That might be something that you might want to take up later after it's presented to the public hearing and see what their response is, and if there's any, I guess you could say, any interest by the commissioners as a whole to take it as such. But right now, we're just voting on these maps as proposed. Okay, we've had the opportunity to make the amendments that we need.
Are we guided by Robert's Rules of Order?
Sure are.
Then I think I can make a motion to do that.
I don't see so.
Chair Iona, my concern would be the deviation number. Because right now, as commissioners, we don't know what that deviation might be, and we might be approving something that would be over 10%. I'm just
Well,
out of an abundance of caution.
that's one issue, but I just don't, I'm not going to acknowledge an amendment at this point in time in regards to something that we had all agreed upon in regards to the maps and the amendments that we're going to make to them and how we're going to vote accordingly tonight. So.
Okay, I would like
Okay,
to
you make a
move
motion,
to
right?
adopt my proposed amendments for the Makapu'u Lighthouse.
Any second to that motion?
Commissioner Mao, I second.
Okay. Any discussion, any questions? Okay, there being no questions, there being no discussion, we're going to take a roll call vote in regards to whether or not we will send the Makapu'u Lighthouse member draft 1 to public hearing that was proposed by Commissioner Hussey Burdick.
Commissioner Caparros,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas,
No.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lau,
No.
Commissioner Mao,
Yes.
Commissioner Quevedo Jr.,
No.
Commissioner Shigemasa,
No.
Commissioner Singh, Chair Iona,
No.
3 ayes, 6 noes, Chair.
Okay, that motion does not pass. That draft 1 is set aside. We will now move on to the Kaena Makapu proposed map, which is out on display. That's the original. So the question is, do I hear a motion to send the Kaena Makapu proposed map to public hearing? There being no
I-
motion,
Chair, sorry, I'd like to put in a motion for that.
okay? Any second? Okay, there being no second, the motion fails. That map is set aside. We are now gonna, the question is, do I hear a motion to send the Kaena Makapu'u member, Commissioner Chase Shigimasa's, Vice Chair Chase Shigimasa's, proposed draft to, public hearing?
I will not move.
You will not move. Okay, well, will anybody move?
I will move. Rick Singh.
So moved. Any second?
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? Any questions, comments?
I just have, Commissioner Mao.
Yeah, go ahead.
So is this the Kaena Makapu Plan Member Draft 2, September 28th?
No, one.
Thank you.
That
Sure.
was proposed by Commissioner, Vice Chair Shigimasa. I think there was only one amendment to that, if I'm not mistaken.
One change to the original plan. And Chair Iona, Commissioner Shigemaza, if I may, since we're in discussion, the only change was to take the, the Makapu Lighthouse Plan for Districts 4 and 5 and do that same thing there. That doesn't change deviation. I do just want to mention that there are two members who submitted draft 1 and 2, and just want to make a note that I would support, as myself, I would support both drafts if one or the other proceeds.
Okay, well, we're gonna vote on it, okay?
Can I ask to clarify? Is
Sure.
that member drafts 1 and 2 you would support? Is that what you're saying?
That's
Correct.
what he said, yeah.
Remember draft 1 and 2, and the reason for that is I think Commissioner Lau did a lot of work as well in picking up some of the concerns that were brought up actually in this in testimony that we received earlier about changes that Commissioner Hussey Burdick had did in her original plan in another map that she had submitted in her lighthouse plan. And Commissioner Lau took those concerns as well as other concerns as well and made some changes. So I just wanted to, either plan I think would be sufficient for what we're trying to achieve here.
Any further discussion, questions on the Kaena Makapu member draft 1 by Vice Chair Shigimasa? Sending that to the public hearing. Any other questions, comments? There being none, we will take a vote on that map.
Commissioner Caparros,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas,
No.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
Honolulu.
Commissioner Lau,
No.
Commissioner Mao,
Yes.
Commissioner Quevedo Jr.,
Yes.
Commissioner Shigimasa,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Chair Iona,
No.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick.
Can you tell me the tally?
The motion already carries with 5 votes.
Yes.
6 ayes, Chair.
Okay. So that map will be taken to the public for hearing. The next map is the Kaena Makapu member draft number 2 by Commissioner Bert Lau. So the motion, do I hear a motion to send the Kaena Makapu member draft 2 by Commissioner Lau to public hearing?
Chair Iona, I so move.
Okay, any second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion, questions? Okay, there being none, we'll take a roll call on that.
Commissioner Caparose,
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas,
No.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lau,
Yes.
Commissioner Mao,
Yes.
Commissioner Cuivero Jr.,
No.
Commissioner Shigimasa,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Chair Iona.
No.
7 ayes, Chair.
Okay, that map will be taken to the public for hearing. The last map is the modified existing districts. So the question is, do I hear a motion to send the modified existing districts proposed map to public hearing?
Chair Iona, I so move.
Okay, any second?
Caparose, second.
Okay. Any comments, discussion, etc.?
Chair Iona, based on the testimony we've heard tonight, where there were a number of testifiers who supported this plan, I think we need to make sure that that is put before the public for more discussion and testimony. It occurs to me that if there are questions about a new district, sending people back to a district they're familiar with over the last 10 years is not necessarily a bad thing, as long as we are consistent with all of our charter requirements. So that is the basis of my support to send that map to the public.
Anyone else? I do have a comment, and it's in line with what you just stated, Commissioner Lau, and I appreciate what you said, and I'm glad that you have acknowledged what people that have testified tonight. And this also goes in response to Vice Chair Shigimasa's comments in regards to making a bold move by the commission in regards to changing the lines that we have currently. And I can appreciate what you're saying, Vice Chair. But I think, and I really feel this. I feel that, and you guys have called it, you said comfortable. I think you said comfortable. Mr. Lau said comfortable, people feeling comfortable. And I think you said bold. Well, I wanna say that it's really about the constituents themselves. And, you know, it's in you, I think Commissioner Cuevero said, keeping communities together. A lot of people said that, keeping communities together. I think you really have to take that into consideration. That's a big part of the equation. I think what everybody is looking for right now is deviations in populations, and, you know, how many people are in this district and how many people are not, where the population shift is going to be in the next 10 years. And we know pretty much where that's going to be. You got Kaka'ako coming up, you got Coral Ridge, you got the developments all in the Ewa Beach and Kapolei area, and no question they're going to come up. But it is about representation. It is about the type of representation that they currently have, and not being comfortable with it mainly, but you do establish a guideline, a principled guideline for these voters, and they elect people, whether people want to believe this or not. And we're kind of jaded right now as supposedly civic-minded people in regards to equality and everything else that we have. But I think we're kind of jaded in regards to our voters and how they vote. And they do vote by who they're represented by. And when the terms change out, and fortunately we have that for council members, we don't have that for the legislators where they change out. We know they're going to change out. And because they're going to change out, I think it says something, and there should be a lot of weight attached to what the consistency in who these constituents are and who they're represented by. Because the next people will come in to run, and we're going to have basically we're going to have two vacant seats. I believe that's in Representative Fukunaga's district and Representative Elefante's district. And what you're going to do right now is if you adopt the Makapu'u'Kaena plan, you're shifting that whole population. Fukunaga's population is going to go now to a newly elected, as it was noted tonight, Representative Cordero, Councilmember Cordero's section. And that's a brand new population. So who takes advantage of that if we're talking politics now? Well, it's not gonna be Councilmember Fukunaga because she's gone. So I mean, maybe she doesn't care. But I think whoever takes that seat might say, well, it's better for me now. I got a smaller district. I got this to walk. And just you can say the same argument for Councilmember Elefante. But I don't think that should be what's guiding us. I think what's guiding us right now is the consistency of constituents because of their representation. And I think that's I think that's something that should have a lot of weight. So we are moving forward tonight. You know, the two Kayana Point, Kayana Makapu points, and I can see why they have been adopted. It's either or. That's what's going to happen with that one. And that's pretty obvious. But now we have the opportunity, I would say, to really put forward something that I think is bold in my estimation or in my opinion, Vice Chair Shigemasa. So go right ahead. You can speak.
Chair Iona,
Yeah.
Commissioner Shigemasa, I think it's important to, and that's why I brought it up in the 1991 plan, so we could take a look at that. Because although we're here as a body, to take politics, we should be taking politics out of this. Politics should play no part in our decisions that we make today. And I just can't support a plan that takes a district from Kaka'ako, goes Mauka, all the way to Aiea Heights. And I think that plan, I think that's what we're trying, in my opinion, what I would urge the commissioners, that this is our chance to correct it. I mean, if you take the 2001 commission's plan, compare that to the 2011 commission plan, their modified existing plan that was adopted did this. It took this District 5 and it went all the way to Aiea, because that's not how it was in 2001. And so,
Excuse me, that was 1991.
so I'm talking about the 2001,
Okay.
between
I thought you said
2001
11.
and 2011. So in the 2011 plan, it took the line further west. In the 2001 plan, the line is not that far west. And so my point here is, if we don't address the issue today, or in this commission, we're going to give this to the next body, the 2031 commission. And that's why I brought that 1991 plan, so we could see how districts were cut before Mauka to Makai. Really clean, following populace, and keeping communities together as well. You know, this is an exercise every 10 years that we have to follow the population in each district, and we have to follow that number. And to the best of our ability, you know, we're tasked with that job. And I just feel that if we move this plan forward, we're not addressing to me a long-stemming issue of districts that are not cut very evenly. You know, districts that, and in my opinion, it's District 5 that, or maybe District F in our deviation plan that has it looks the most weird, for lack of a better term, how the district goes from Kaka'ako, which has very different issues than Aiea Heights. And that's why I would urge our members to not support this plan, because this plan doesn't fix that. Thank you.
Fair enough, Commissioner Douglas. I'm going to ask the members to support this plan, and that's because of the discussion of constituency and the other plans. You know, although there's good considerations that we've discussed, that would cause the most change for the voters within their districts. This plan, the modified existing plan, has the least amount of changes, district by district. And I read a comment on social media a few weeks ago where the commenter stated that they haven't voted for the last several cycles for a council member. One, because they moved from their district to another district. and also because during the change 10 years ago, they were districted out. So we want to try to, this plan here minimizes that as much as possible. There will be boundary changes, no matter what. But I believe the modified existing district plan keeps the communities as much as possible, and also accounts for the population growth. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else?
Commissioner Lau, I'd like to speak in favor of adopting this plan, the modified existing, solely for the purpose of taking it to the public. I think that would be the most important thing, is to give the public an opportunity to testify on it, not necessarily to cut it off at this stage. It's, we may want to limit the number, but since this is closest to what they have currently, closest, then that should, I think, be an option for people to be able to talk about. That would be my take on it. I may not necessarily support it at a later point when it comes down to after the public hearing, but for the purposes of getting it before the public, I think that's important.
Anybody else?
Chair, I am in favor for this proposal also because we had people testify in front of us that believes in what our duty is supposed to do, is to listen and make a decision. And I support this proposal right now. Thank you.
Anybody else? I just want to state for the record, you mentioned, you said politics, it cannot be, that's by charter. But if you look at the two proposed maps that are going to go forward at the Kaiana-Makapu'u drafts, if you look at the most radical change, I mean, when you look at all the maps, that's the most radical of changes. And the radical change comes in District 5, I believe it is. And if you can argue it either way you want, Vice Chair. But if that's not politics, then I don't know what is, in the sense of that radical change in regards to who now is going to be their representative and who is not going to be their representative, who has been their representatives for the last 10, 20 years. And now it's again, because I go back again and I'm talking politics. I have never mentioned politics. I don't think it is. And when we talk about representation, that's exactly what it is. Who is representing them? And this is a nonpartisan race now. This is a nonpartisan council with term limits, as opposed to, like I said, across the street where there are no term limits. So I just wanted to make that for the record. Like I said, we can go all night on this, and that's not my intention, Vice Chair. You're very articulate and you make good points, and I think it's well received by everybody in this room. Likewise with Commissioner Lau. So anyway, I just wanted to put that on the record for now, and I want to take a vote on this, unless somebody else has anything else to say on this or questions. Okay, if not, if we can take a vote on this.
Commissioner Caparros,
Yes?
Commissioner Douglas.
Yes.
Commissioner Hussey Burdick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lau,
Yes.
Commissioner Mao,
Yes.
Commissioner Cuevero Jr.,
Yes.
Commissioner Shigemasa,
Yes.
Commissioner Singh,
Yes.
Chair Iona. 9 ayes, Chair.
The modified existing districts proposed map will be also submitted for public hearing. So members, at this point in time, we will present 3 maps to the public. That would be the Kaiana-Makapu'u member draft 1 by Chair Shigemasa, the Kaiana-Makapu'u member draft 2 by Commissioner Lau and the modified existing districts map for public hearing. They will be presented to the public at our public hearings on October 7th and 11th at 6 p.m. here at the Honolulu Holly. Again, for the public out there, I want you to know that the maps will be displayed on the 3rd floor right here at Honolulu Holly, as well as the 1st floor, the covered courtyard at Kapolei Holly from September 29th, tomorrow, to October 11th. So you'll have an opportunity to review the maps. In addition to that, the maps are also going to be available to the public online at our website. And that again is on www.honolulu.gov/elections/reapportionment. There are no items for executive session, which is agenda item number 6. And we will move on now to agenda item number 7, our scheduling agenda for future meetings. So, Commissioners, at our next meeting, again, these are the public hearings on October 7th and 11th, right here, 6 p.m. on the 3rd floor. And again, I want to remind you that these will be remote oral testimony from the public. And here's the guidelines for that meeting. We will be allowed to ask questions to the testifiers, but there will be no discussion, no action, or decision-making on any of the testimonies submitted during this public hearing. Once all of the testifiers have testified, the public hearings will be adjourned, and that's after October 11th. At that point in time, if you feel compelled by whatever comments or amendments were proposed by the public, you can interactively take that to staff to make whatever changes you might want to make, if there were any that came in there that you would like to make. And of course, that can be done at that point in time. And then we come back on October 26th. This meeting is a little different time. It's at 5 p.m. And at that point in time, we will review, discuss, and act upon appropriately any of the amendments to the maps that were presented at the public hearings, adoption of the final plan, and preparation of the final report of the 2021 Reapportionment Commission and filing of the adopted redistricting plan with the city clerk. Excuse me. Are there any questions in regards to what I just stated in regards to the public hearings, the dates, and the content of it? If
I have
not,
a question,
who's that?
Chair,
Oh, okay.
Commissioner Ma. So I'm trying to follow the timeline. After we have our 2 public hearings, basically we're going to take the input from the public. Then we're going to come back for another meeting on
26.
Okay. And that's when somebody might want to propose something like Old Eva Beach versus New Eva Beach.
Well, that's where we can make the adjustments that need to be made, if any. Okay. Based on what the public has testified to, right? If you want to adopt anything.
And will we give them enough time, or will we show them what we did?
Well,
after that,
hopefully after the public hearings, right? You'll have, everything at your disposal. At that point in time, you can check with me to see if you want to go with staff to see if you can make whatever changes you might want to make at that point in time. And we can do interactive, be interactive at that point in time. Any changes that you want to make, and we can get everything in line with the deviations, etc. And then we'll be presented at the October 26th. And it will be amendments to only the proposed maps that we have now. Okay, so we're not going back to Kaena or
modify.
all of those are off the table right now. We only have 3 maps left, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Is that clear? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. If there are no further discussions or questions, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Chair, I have a question before we adjourn, and I wasn't sure what was the appropriate place to discuss this on the agenda. But I'm looking at the testimony from Common Cause, and they have twice now brought up the incarcerated population.
And we addressed that.
Did we? I didn't.
Yes, we addressed it at the last at the last meeting, and we said we are not going to include, or we're not going to adopt their proposal.
I don't remember that.
We are not, well, part of the reason for that is we're not mandated by law. That's part of the reason. Okay, anything else? Back, all of as mentioned, I'll just say this for the record, what was brought up again by Mr. Aki through Common Cause has been brought up previously. As far as my record is concerned, we have addressed all of his concerns, and we have made decisions accordingly.
Chair Honor, Commissioner Douglas, I motion to adjourn.
Okay, any second?
Second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, commissioners. We'll see you on October 7th. Don't forget to leave your packet